Now we'll go to our 5.56 threats. These are pretty much the pinnacle of armor-piercing rounds that I am aware of in 5.56. We've got our AP4, 3082. Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt, also known as the King of Armor Destruction, the Armor Wizard Zap Zap, and Mr. Chili. It's getting towards the end of the season, got to bundle up. But we have an armor demo today from Adept. This is a new offering. It's the Archon, Archon, Arcanine, Aragon. Someone please correct me in the comments below.
Mr. Ahmed Foley is here to see.
Axel Foley. Axel.
Axel.
NIJ RF3 or NIJ level 4 plus maybe. Let's take a closer look at these in the table and see what we have in store today. Now in full transparency, Adept sent this Archon plate for us to demo with no strings attached. I do have an active affiliate set up with them and I have a discount code. I do believe it is Buffman. And so if you're looking to make a purchase after you've done all your own research and you want to say thank you to the channel, that's what I use those sales commissions for, by putting it right back in the channel by buying all kinds of obscure armor-piercing ammunition. So effectively our Archon is a NIJ level 4 or NIJ-07 RF3 plus plate based on the threat matrix. This is going to stop some pretty insane threats. This is a 10 by 12 plate. It weighs 5.86 pounds or 2.658 kilograms. It's 967 thousandths thick or 24.618 millimeters. It is a little bit thinner depending on where you measure it because we have this nice cool graphics foam package up front. It is multi-curve, so we've got a nice curve right there. We've got a curve right there, and we've got a little bit of curvature right there. So what that effectively does is it actually fits your body a lot tighter and it wears better. And what I've noticed when wearing multi-curve plates over, say, our single curve or no curve, is it takes a lot of that extra pressure off of your shoulders, so it actually feels lighter overall, so that after you've worn this for 5 or 6 hours, you're just not slumping around because you're being exhausted. Now, if this is the first time you're viewing our YouTube channel, we do all of our body armor demos completely different than everyone else on YouTube. We're after worst case scenario. Rewind that, folks, and say it again. We're after worst case scenario. Since this is rifle armor, we shoot at 45 feet. We also shoot at 0 degrees again, because that's worst case scenario. We have a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma plastiline, a #1 clay from Chavant. It's the same clay that the NIJ uses, but they have the ability to heat it up in an oven inside of a building all day long, and they're only allowed to take it out for an hour, and they got to put it back in for 3. We're out here at the woods. It's like 45 to 50 degrees outside today, so I've got a little quote-unquote oven down there that I heat these up with, and the second that I take them out, they start cooling. So we're looking at a representation of back face. If you see something like 50 to 60 millimeters in my clay with, say, a 5.56 threat, in the NIJ's eyes in official testing, that likely would be failing. Since our Archon plate employs a ceramic strike face per the NIJ 06 and 07 standards, I actually looked this up and paid $67 for an ASTM PDF standard to know that the NIJ 07 is still calling for us to drop it on its face 2 times as a preconditioning test. After we've done that, we mark a DT indicating that we've done a drop test. If we've dropped it more than 2 times, we put that in parentheses. And then we do a torque test. That's where we take the opposing edges of the plates and we apply torque to listen for any cracking. If we don't hear any, we mark TQ. If we hear any cracking, I mark it with a C. I did hear a slight cracking on this plate. Now, I can't tear this down and check and see if it actually cracked, or maybe we delaminated the backer from the ceramic strike face. So just as a precaution, we mark that for data's sake. As I mentioned, this is a 10 by 12 model, and I measured the size at 9 7/8 by 11 7/8, so it's very close to true sizing. It depends on where you measure it, because if you measure across the front, including the arch of the plate, you'll be like 10 1/4, but if you measure the back, it's a little less. From what we can tell, this plate employs a complete edge-to-edge ceramic strike face, meaning for that 9 7/8 by 11 7/8 size, there is ceramic that extends almost all the way out to the outer perimeter. Some companies are going to put a foam border on the outside of the plate, and that is for bump protection. We're not talking about the foam border that they would put on the front side here that would reduce the amount of ceramic that they would put in a plate. We use a chronograph whenever possible. We have our Pro Chrono Pal Digital DLX, as well as our Athlon Optics Rangecraft Doppler chronograph. Set that guy on the desk. You don't need any light to run that thing, and you just point it in the general direction, and it goes off a sound trigger, and it gives you almost instantaneous velocity. It is a little on the optimistic side, I think, sometimes compared to, say, our light screen. So we take an average of both, and if we don't get one, we can sometimes get the other, because we need to know the velocity of that round. NIJ level 3 or NIJ level 4 or RF3 requires M2 armor piercing at 2880 feet per second. You're not going to see that out of a 30-06 with a 24-inch barrel, so we need to know the velocity because that matters a lot. And finally, we put a spreadsheet here at the beginning and the end. We kind of foreshadow all the threats we're going to shoot at it. We mark our velocities and our penetrations. In the end, we do a teardown to confirm what the guts of our plates look like and what kind of construction, and to confirm that they are using an edge-to-edge strike face. I do want to remind everyone that I'm not an NIJ lab, so if you see a threat stop or pass through on the channel, you should always defer to the manufacturer to produce accredited, recent, and frequent lab results showing those threats are stopped. And on the flip side, if you're the manufacturer and you see me stop AP4 armor piercing 556, you should send that off to the lab and have that added as a special rifle threat to your panel. And one final caveat is, again, I'm doing this as a hobby, and manufacturers are the biggest support to this channel, so sometimes they can only send one plate. So I have to maximize the amount of shots that I put on a plate. We try to maintain NIJ shot distance of 2 inches, and sometimes we start getting pass-throughs after the 6th, 7th, or 8th shot. Don't always assume that that plate is garbage when you see that. Again, I'm just stretching my dollars as thin as possible and getting as many shots on a plate. Our plate is strapped in and ready to go. It is a little bit cloudy today, so if the light screen doesn't read, I think we'll have to throw the little lighted bars on there, but we got the Doppler radar chronograph going. M993 or AP8 from NAMO. This is the U.S. Army's armor piercing round in 7.62 NATO, 130 grain with a tungsten penetrator. Effectively, it's the big brother to M995. This guy is very, very hard to stop. This is kind of where the Colossus got its claim to fame, is we were stopping this bullet at 3,400 feet per second from that. Still using the silicon carbide titanium diboride, I think I got that right, strike face. So we've got a 16-inch CZ557 here. We'll take the one shot of this, and then we're going to go to the 5.56 threats and then go check out what we did in the plate. 2840, 2868. Now we'll go to our 5.56 threats. These are pretty much the pinnacle of armor piercing rounds that I am aware of in 5.56. We've got our AP4. That is a 62 grain variant of M995. U.S. Army didn't adopt it. They went to the 52 grain AP3. Very, very expensive, hard to come by. A big thank you to the collectors who have this. Then we have M995. That's 52 grain with a tungsten penetrator. Then we have our R.A.N.G.E. Full metal jacket. I think it's TC tungsten core, so it's got a little tiny tungsten penetrator in there, pretty much shaped like M855's penetrator. These have been popping some of our level 4 here when we've been testing them. 3082, 3114, 3082. Easy enough. Our M993 was right there, center of the plate. Our AP4 or the 62 grain version right there. Then AP3, M995 right there. Then our R.A.N.G.E. 62 grain was right there. Place those bets in the comments below. Helper hand. Oh, Raggy, we have a pass-through on the M993. That's very interesting that we got that. But our 5.56 threats were stopped. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We have a little bit of dimpling going on there, but nothing to write home about, like back face down there on that shot, only 8 millimeters. This guy up here, maybe 10. So very, very controlled on our 5.56 threats. Well, we probably should make sure our plate will stop M2 armor piercing. This is a 163 grain full metal jacket with a hardened steel core. Very, very nasty to stop. This is the NIJ spec at 2880 feet per second. We have these loaded in 308. I think we should be pretty darn close to meeting that spec, even if in cooler weather. I up the charge a little bit. So hopefully we're not over. We'll take 2 shots of this, check our back face, and then finish this off with some 5.56 threats. 2886, 2894. So that is in spec. That is a perfect loading, at least in 45-degree weather. Once we get warmer, it'll probably go way over. 2879, 2868. All right, our shot of M2 armor piercing number 1, and then number 2, we were within specification. Now, we are about 2 inches from that shot. We probably should have went over here a little bit more. Helper hand, place in the comments below. R.A.N.G.E. Excuse me, we have a pass-through, pretty clean pass-through from that shot of M2 AP right there. Our bottom one was stopped though without any trouble. We got a good sized dimple there. Our back face is only around 20 millimeters, not too shabby if I do say so myself, especially for more of an edge shot. I think because we have this one plate, we should finish it off with some 5.56 in the uncompromised areas and see how well it takes it. This is our M855A1, 62 grains, copper core, a very long and hardened steel penetrating tip, good for pretty much lots and lots of barriers. In my opinion, this is the pinnacle of an all-around good round in 5.56, whether you're looking for soft tissue performance or barrier performance. So we've got the 22-inch here, we've got 6 shots on here, some good parts of the plate. If you're looking at picking any of this up, my cheddar spreader at War Pig Armory is Buffman, and our buddy over at Dozer has this as well. 3143, 3191, 3125, it is reading. 3138. Easy enough. Shots number 1, 2. Look at how close that is to the edge. 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Place those bets in the comments below. No pass-throughs, folks. Pretty much, if we were able to stop our tungsten core threats, the likelihood of M855A1 passing through is very little, although at this point in our demo, we've done a lot to destroy the strike face. And so that goes to show you that this plate is pretty multi-hit capable. The M2AP could be argued that it is close proximity to the M993, and the epicenter of how that ceramic works to stop those projectiles could have been weakened in there. Now for a fan favorite, paging Dr. Matt to surgery, the teardown. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the harder it is for me to tear your plate down, generally speaking, the adhesives that you use to make that harder go a long way in making the plate last longer. Although the multi-hit capability of this plate seems to be pretty darn good. So it took us not too long to get into this plate, mainly because I peeled this front cover off. This is kind of like the drop phase foam and somewhat of a fragmentation layer. I measured that right around 100 thousandths. It's got a Kevlar aramid fiber layer on it, and it's pretty squishy. And we also have a blunt force trauma foam on the back, or sometimes people said they use this foam to help cut the sharp corners. I measured that foam right around 100 thousandths. Again, we see some of that aramid fiber there. We're using ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. It is pressed, but I think a lot of the muzzle energy has started to delaminate it because it is on the thinner side, right around 500 thousandths to maybe 510 thousandths thick. It's still fairly rigid. Again, our only 2 pass-throughs were the M993 right there out of the 16-inch, and then that M2AP right there. All the 5.56 threats, including the AP stuff, was stopped, and then that round of M2AP down there was stopped as well. The blunt force trauma isn't that bad on that shop down there. This was a piece of the PE that came off. Then we get to our strike face. We're using the silicon carbide titanium diboride, the special ceramic from Adept. This is another fragmentation or laminating crack arresting layer, right around 38 thousandths thick. And then here is our strike face. I have a piece somewhere. I measured it right around 330 thousandths thick. Now, what I've noticed a lot with our ceramics, depending on the type, once we take a shot, you can see how this crack propagation works. Our silicon carbides and our boron carbides tend to be a little more fragile and brittle than the alumina. So when you hit that shot, those cracks start propagating through that, and it basically just grades the strike face. So you're left with compromised ceramics to stop subsequent shots. Obviously, the M993 shot was the first shot on the plate, and it went through. So the ceramic only could have been potentially compromised by maybe dropping it. And then if we didn't have good adhesion between this backer and the strike face, that could have caused it to pass through. But I did have to work at peeling those apart. We do have a perimeter foam on the outside perimeter, and that's just to protect it against any strikes from the side or falling on it. It does have an edge-to-edge ceramic strike face. And with all that being said, that's pretty much the inside of this plate. Let's wrap this one up. Well, folks, what are your thoughts on Adept's Archon plate? I think this is going to be one of those interesting offerings where we're at a lighter weight and thinner overall package. So if you need to maintain that mobility and more endurance because you're carrying around less weight and maybe you want to shift more weight to more ammunition, this plate may fit the bill. Our 5.56 AP threats, which again would probably be the cream of the crop in terms of 5.56 NATO, were all stopped in this plate, and we showed with our M855A1 that it was multi-hit capable. If I could offer any constructive criticism on the construction of this plate, I would like to see a better laminating layer on the front and back side of our ceramic so that when we use those adhesives and like a Kevlar or aramid fiber material to sandwich that together, it just makes that ceramic last even longer for some of those shots. Maybe that drop test compromised the adhesion between the backer and the ceramic a little bit, really hard to say. I do like the drop face foam protectant they are putting on this. Their polyethylene seems pressed, and overall it seems like a pretty darn good panel to look at if you're looking at that lighter weight option. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible, because there's a lot that goes into them. Number one is my family. Deacon would like to remind you all to like and subscribe to these videos and share them so that a logarithm works for us and not against us. Number two are my Patreon and YouTube channel members. I have a campsite in the description below. There's a landing page there. I can't tell you what's in it because every time I say campsite, YouTube will limit it or no ads to this video. But there are different affiliate and discount tracking links in there that effectively earn me a sales commission. And what I do with it is I put it right back in the channel by buying all that weird, obscure ammunition. That NAMO AP4 ran over $200 a round to procure, so I have a very limited skill set of that. So when I can get the help through those different affiliate links, that goes a long way. Number three are those anonymous collectors who actually have access to some of this ammunition. They are also a great help to the channel for when I'm trying to source some of this stuff. They seem to be able to get their hands on this stuff that no one else can. Number four is Jake over at Adept Armor. Again, in full transparency, sent us that Archon plate to destroy with no strings attached. Number 5 and 6 are Dozer Munitions and Warpig Armory. If you are looking for a resupply on your Alpha 1, you know what to do. And finally, number 7 is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range. Number 5, Alpha 1, you know what to do. And of course, number 6 is you all for, actually, that's number 7, right?